It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. Some stores are watching this Friday, August 1?
August 1st. Happy August 1st.
August 1.
Happy first day of the month.
2025.
Citizen complainants will file a motion for reconsideration at the Supreme Court after it ruled unconstitutional the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. They claim that the decision undermines public accountability. Meantime, Senate President pro tempore Jinggoy Estrada said 19 to 20 senators are now inclined to abide by the ruling and not hold an impeachment trial. Estrada warned, though, that ignoring the high tribunal's decision could lead to a constitutional crisis.
About 30 families of missing Sabongeros have filed criminal complaints against businessman Atong Ang and other people before the Department of Justice. The charges include murder and serious illegal detention. State Prosecutor General Richard Fadulion says the affidavits will still be evaluated to determine if a preliminary investigation is warranted. Only until prosecutors find sufficient evidence will the respondents be asked to formally respond to the complaints. And U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order moving the effectivity of tariffs to August 7 from August 1. This is to give the Customs and Border Protection sufficient time to make the necessary changes to collect the new duties. In a one-week reprieve for America's trading partners, including the Philippines, which managed to negotiate a deal to cut levies from 20 to 19%.
Malacanang stresses the need for a clean, transparent budget with no abuse of Congress's power of the purse. This comes after Senate President Chis Escudero insisted that Congress has the right to amend the proposed 2026 national budget despite what President Marcos said during his fourth State of the Nation address. The chief executive, Marcos, had warned that he would not sign a budget that is not aligned with the vision of the administration.
Hindi po dapat abusuhin yung sinasabing power of the purse at maraming magkaroon kung meron man mga insertions at hindi mapapakinabangan na tunay ng taong bayan. Yan lamang po ang gusto ng Pangulo. Kaya gusto niya po maging malinis ang budget at hanggat maaari yung BICAM conference with regard to the conference dito sa budget, 2026 budget, ay bukas sa publiko.
The DILG is proposing a daily parking ban on the streets of the National Capital Region from 5 in the morning to 10 in the evening. Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla made a suggestion during a meeting with the Metro Manila Council. The initiative's objective is to create a unified yet flexible policy that mayors can agree on, with a final decision expected to come out on September 1. The parking ban, or the proposed parking ban, will cover public roads except for EDSA and the Mabuhay lanes, which have a strict no parking rule.
The intent is to make Metro Manila more livable. So we start with parking. It'll take 1 month to resolve on a granular basis. Ang mga mayors mag-identify. DWG, they're going to identify yung major thoroughfares na kailangan no parking talaga. So we're going to be very strict about it. Gagawin namin ng a whole city map para makita na kung saan pwede pumarada at hindi.
Just to be clear po, that's still a proposal. Huwag kayo magpanic muna. Joining us today, or joining us later, will be Storycon's resident political pundit, Rol Llamas.
And from the Philippine Star, we've got Editor-in-Chief Ami Pamintuan. Hi, Ami.
Hi. Happy Friday.
Oh, Ami, parang ano ka? Parang, kumusta ka na? Ang tagal mo na wala.
Medyo may allergy pa akong konti. Namamagapan ng konti yung mata ko.
Ouch.
Oh, okay. Well, at least you're back.
Hope you're feeling better.
At least you're back on the saddle, the saddle, di ba? And you're
Sige, Ed.
Sige nga.
He's gonna try. Sige, let's hear it.
Your is ano. Okay,
Your
okay, there you go.
ano.
Ayun na lang. Para tapos ang usapan yan.
Ganda daw ng print ng top mo. Talaga. May update na tayo doon sa, okay, it's this budget issue is becoming, well, kind of blowing up, right? So now we're hearing from a lot of the people on both sides. By that, I mean yung Congress and also the agency side. And just this afternoon, we got a statement from Bacolod Representative Albi Benitez calling on DPWH Secretary Manny Bonoan to take a leave of absence whilst the investigation into the flood control projects is going on. Sabi ni Congressman Benitez, you know, when there are questions about a company's finances, you don't ask the accountant to audit himself. You bring in someone independent to find the truth. So out of delicadeza and to help preserve the integrity of the inquiry, I respectfully urge the DPWH Secretary to take a leave of absence while the investigation is ongoing.
Mas mabuti, wag na lang DPWH yung mag-investigate, di ba? It will be
Yes.
investigating itself eh. Meron ding isang proposal na pabayaan na lang yung Commission on Audit
That's
to
what,
conduct the audit.
that's what Congressman Benitez is saying now.
But the COA audit takes quite a long time, ah.
It happens
And
the year after the budget
and
is
that's really part
fully
of the process.
disbursed.
Baka we should be looking at something more immediate.
Which means kung after this year, next year palalabas yung COA
Oo.
audit after everything has been
and that's
disbursed.
typically done naman talaga by COA. I mean,
Oo.
you don't even have to tell them to do that.
O kaya,
Exactly.
hindi dapat yung DPWH ang lead.
Yeah.
Kaya
yeah.
kung ipag-lead mo si Manuel Bonoan, dapat mag-lead din yung mga congressman.
Ay, yan si Ami, di
Di
ba?
ba? I mean, if you're...
Okay, Ami's back in the saddle.
Correct. So may point ka din.
Mahiya naman kayo, hindi ba?
Oo.
Kung ganyan din na lang, magtatawagan na rin lang kayo eh.
Because-
Hindi mag-lead yung lahat.
Because remember
So,
what
ang tanong nga dyan, who will conduct the investigation?
Yes.
Siguro magtawag sa private sector nung nakakaintindi how to audit actually a flood control project.
Yes, because pati si Sec Bonoan said he gave an interview to, was it the radio DZWB, sabi niya, some of these projects were not approved nor proposed nor
Yes.
checked by the DPWH, meaning the executive submits their budget, including all the proposed flood control programs under DPWH, tapos Congress reviews it, and then during the
Yes.
BICAM, Bonoan is saying that doon nagkaroon na insertions that they didn't know about. So the question there is who made these insertions and where did they go? So he's saying that
Kaya
these new items did not undergo validation nor initial engineering assessments. So
Kaya sino magli-lead
Oo.
nga ng investigation? Saka yun reporter pa ako, Ed. Sinasabi na sa akin ng mga DPWH officials talaga namang messy lagi dyan yung mga politician. And in fact, sila nga daw yung nagpapasok ng mga contractor na hindi vetted ng DPWH. Matagal ng issue yan. Ang tanda ko na. That was a long time ago. Hanggang ngayon, tuloy-tuloy pa rin.
Paano ni Ami?
Ngayon
That
pa
was a
lang
long time
naha-highlight.
ago.
ngayon pa lang siya naha-highlight na pinapasok yung mga kontratista na hindi nga approved ng DPWH.
Well, hindi lang
Matagal
yun.
na sinasabi yan eh.
Also, the part of the controversy is that legislators also have a very indirect say, indirect because they're not
The
supposed
year
to have...
mark. No, the year mark.
No, I mean also in the appointment of
Engineers.
district engineers.
Yeah.
It's a part of their lobbying, di ba? You get to lobby for who will be in charge in your
Yes.
jurisdiction. So may
Kaya
ganun din
hawak
yun.
mo yung nag-a-approve,
Oo.
ikaw nag-earmark, hawak mo yung nag-a-approve. Ngayon, sabi ni Benji Magalong, pati yung mga kumpanya na kontratista, may-ari na yung congressman.
Well,
So,
actually,
we-
marami namang congressman na kontratista rin. Anyway. Oh.
What's
It's
that,
Friday.
Ed? Yes,
true.
yes.
Yeah,
So dito sinabi ni Mayor Magalong, Ami, I think you missed that interview where he said 35 yung mga lawmakers get on average about 35 to
30 to
40%. 35 to 40% of the total budget in kickbacks from the total budget of the
Yeah.
project Tapos may mga other expenses pa yan, such that the actual amount of the project itself is only about 30% of the total pie, total amount allocated for it. Si Congressman Terry Ridon is also now challenging Mayor Magalang to show some evidence of this, right? And we will ask him about that, what evidence he has. But from what we know is that si Mayor Magalang has been looking into this for a very long time, and he wouldn't cite his sources. Sabi niya marami na siya nakausap na contractors to verify these. But he, of course, wouldn't give us his sources at that point. But yeah, we'll ask him for proof of that. And now they want to call him to a potential House hearing.
I knew that was coming.
You knew that hearing, you knew that was coming, that he would get invited.
They called him, yeah. Kasi he issued a blanket accusation, of course, with no specific people in mind. Pero you issue a blanket accusation like that, the congressmen are going
Fair
to
enough.
Name
last
names.
back at you and tell you, you're dragging our name through the mud. Might as well tell us who you're referring to, which is also the right.
But you know what? I mean, I don't think anybody at this point disputes that there has been mangling of the budget, that there is corruption. It's just that it looks like both sides are pointing fingers now, right? So, for example, I started off with the statement from Congressman Albi Benitez calling on DPWH Secretary Manny Bonoan to resign. Not resign, take a leave of absence. This is coming off the back of an interview that Congressman Benitez gave our sister program yesterday, wherein he said, dun sa Bacolod, they have been pushing these floodgates projects na nasa budget talaga dapat. Pagkatapos, biglang nawala sa BICAM. So, isa din yan sa gusto niyang investigahan. Whereas yung ibang districts naman got over 20 billion pesos. He didn't name which district that was. Pero samantalang yung 300 million nila for floodgates projects, biglang nawala.
Pero kung nawala sa BICAM, hindi
Nakakahilo
kasalanan ng
nakakahilo yung mga amount, ano?
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions and billions, and where are they going? Nabang-baha pa rin tayo.
Kung nawala sa BICAM, hindi kasalanan ng DPWH yun. Kasalanan ng BICAM yun.
Exactly.
Anyari sa kwarto natin, anyari sa taxes natin.
So,
Whereas the BICAM added 288 billion pesos sa DPWH budget for 2025.
Yes.
Di ba? So
well, that's also why
Kahit nung binawasan, mas mataas pa rin yung budget ng DPWH sa entire education
umabot
sector.
ng 1.1 trillion.
1.007 trillion pesos, to be precise. That's also why Congressman Benitez broke from the majority. He broke away, right? Sabi niya, we don't agree with the current leadership of the House. That's why he decided not to support House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Yung mga sinasabing flood control projects are questionable, and he's saying that basically in Bacolod they're also experiencing it, so that's why he broke away. So now they've got a faction of 5 of them in the House. Na I guess what do we call them? Minority, independent? I'm not sure.
The independent majority only because they support the administration, but they're not part of the actual majority.
Sige nga.
You can't say they're the minority kasi
Because they're not technically the minority.
kasi they're not naman aligned with the anti-BBM.
The traditional opposition.
Oh, and the lower chamber is always the bastion of the administration.
Yes.
So
Sige,
they're
Ed, sino ang actually, isa na lang na grupo na nakikita kong anti-administration dyan, yung Duterte Bloc.
you did that the block. So what do you call them?
Sige nga.
well, there's still the minority bloc headed by Congressman Libanan, right? There's still the progressives, the minority bloc, yung traditional opposition, basically.
It's not exactly anti-Marcos, huh?
Yeah, but
I mean, if you
know,
go by their positions on raging issues ngayon, mas aligned sila with administration. Hindi nga natin malaman ngayon kung sino ang position.
well, Yung nga eh.
Kaya ano yung minority? What is the minority ngayon?
Who is the
Mahirap ng
minority and who is the
definition sa terms
opposition?
natin, ano?
Yeah.
Parang
Huwag na natin-
forthwith,
let's
ano?
not call it
Sige nga,
majority
pakidefine.
minority na lang. Para simpleng buhay. Ano lang,
Ano?
BBM, DDS. o ano.
That
BBM,
is oversimplifying our politics. That is the problem, right?
Sige
Hindi,
nga, majority.
paano sa Senate?
How do you make him my
Oo,
everything?
sige. Sa Senate.
Sa Senate,
Hindi mo rin
simple
pwede
lang
gawin
yan.
yun
Sa Senate, ano lang
eh.
yan. SP, non-SP.
Ah,
I'm sorry. Ano?
for SP against SP, ganon.
Actually, cheese or non-cheese? Cheese whiz
sige, sige. Sige, mas madali-dali nga yan, oh. Sa Senate. Tama yan.
Lalong gulo.
No, but you know, again, you have people
Cheese or
in the
non-cheese, di ba?
people in
Are
the
you pro-dairy or non-dairy?
yes, but you have senators like Pam and Kiko who will not necessarily vote along the majority
BBM.
lines
Kaya nga,
all
but
the time.
But they're pro-cheese.
Yeah, they
Cheese
voted,
sila,
cheese or not
majority
cheese?
they
sila.
voted for him, yes, but that doesn't mean that we should expect them to vote along, admin lines all the time.
Kaya,
right? As they said.
kaya hindi pro-admin or anti-admin. Pro-cheese or not? O
Mas
non-cheese?
madali sa Senate mag-define. Kung sa House, ang mahirap-hirap, ano?
Sige, gusto mong mas menuansing. Pro-cheese for now.
For now, or
Teka, ang guess natin
minority, I don't know. Okay, let's we're talking to somebody from the House. Let's bring in our first guest this afternoon. We've got ML Party List Representative Laila De Lima. Welcome back to Storycon, Congresswoman De Lima. Thanks
Magandang
for joining
hapon po.
us.
Magandang hapon sa
Good
inyo,
afternoon.
Ami, Regina, and Ed. Nasaan yung isa
Hi.
ng kasama?
Ay, ma'am, na-traffic po si at mukhang
May gag order na.
Okay.
baka nakakulong na.
Baka na-contempt na.
Na-contempt ng
Baka
Supreme Court siguro.
na-contempt na, Congresswoman.
Nandito, kanina pa, ayaw ko papasukin.
Kaya na daw siya, ayan na. Kaya lang, baliktad yung ano niya, screen
Good
niya.
afternoon.
Baliktad, oh. Ayan na, okay na.
Ronald, baliktad daw yung screen mo. Ikaw hindi ka man gumamit ng
Ayan
telepono.
Kanina pa ako
Okay
dito.
na, okay na.
Ayaw ko papasukin.
O, sige nga, ano yung tsura
Okay
mo?
na, ayan na, oh.
Okay. Let's proceed. Congresswoman,
Yeah.
first off, your reaction to the Supreme Court decision. Let's start with the impeachment first, no? To the Supreme Court decision ruling that it was unconstitutional.
Okay. Talaga naman na maraming question dun sa desisyon. Marami na tayong narinig ng mga statements sa mga legal luminaries, sa mga former members of the Supreme Court. And then the latest nga po, yung kakalabas lang kanina, was the statement from individual members of the UP Law faculty.
Yeah.
Okay, so ang malinaw is that there is an imperative need to really file a motion for reconsideration. And the House already made it clear, the Speaker already made it clear na talagang magpa-file ng MR within the 15-day period. And then malinaw din na talagang kailangan talaga na lalo natin ma-magnify, ma-engage ang taong bayan tungkol sa issue na to. Kasi ang daming implikasyon nito sa usapin ng accountability ay malaki ang implikasyon. Kasi nga ang nagiging parang consensus among those who already commented on it, on the decision, is that pinapahirap nito lalo ang mga requirements, ang process ng impeachment, na may mga binago, may binagong patakaran, at meron din dinagdag na mga patakaran or steps, lalo na if what is initiated is yung 1/3 vote from the House members. So this is something that should be really watched over by the people, kung ano ang magiging tugon ng Supreme Court sa iahain na motion for reconsideration.
Hold on. Since you mentioned the UP law statement, let me just bring it in for the benefit of our viewers, Congresswoman. It's a pretty long statement, but part of it reads, At the bottom, in light of these established principles, we express our conviction that Congress is constitutionally vested with high prerogatives and thus deserves the appropriate defense in its procedures and in the conduct of impeachment. At the very least, given the House's reliance on 2 decades of precedents and practices, any new rules should be prospective in application, and we call on our democratic institutions to act in accordance with these fundamental principles and to foster a full public debate on the impeachment in keeping with constitutional accountability.
Definitely. I fully agree. Yan po yung concluding part of that statement. So talagang ina-uphold nila yung prerogatives ng House dahil nga pinakialaman dyan sa desisyon na yan. Instead of judicial restraint, ay nasobrahan yung pakikialam ng Supreme Court, naging judicial activism na para bang wala naman po sa lugar. So, this is something that we cannot really just, momentarily, and we cannot really gloss it over yung implications ng SC decision na ito. And even on the part, di ba kasi marami namang nagsasabi na at the very least, prospective application lang instead of retroactive application. Ay apply na kaagad yung mga bago nilang mga patakaran na linagay sa Supreme Court decision. But even that, we have to be careful also about that. Even that, I'm not amenable. Why? Kasi nga, that means okay na sa atin yung mga inintroduce na mga bago, lalo na yung tungkol sa how to initiate, when is it considered as deemed initiated, and also the additional requirements kapag 1/3 ang magfa-file. Imagine, requirements of due process, requirements of prior notice, and be furnished with copies of the evidence, due process, which is something that the requirement of due process can very well be accorded the impeached official at the trial stage already. Kaya nga may trial. So even that, dapat hindi pwedeng sabihin, sige, okay lang yan. But you have to apply it retroactively, prospectively, instead of retroactively. Not even a prospective application, I think, would be good for the for the stability of our constitution, our democratic processes, our mechanisms of accountability. It should still be questioned. Dapat malinaw at malakas ang magiging arguments sa motion for reconsideration about those two aspects. Kasi dun nga sa pag-interpret ng when is it deemed initiated, unang-una, that was premised on erroneous factual conclusions or factual findings, misappreciation of the crucial facts and events that transpired prior to the transmittal of the articles of impeachment to the Senate. And then yung tungkol naman dun sa direct filing ng 1/3, that would practically disrupt and delay to a significant degree the impeachment process and intruding into the exclusive prerogative of the House, as now argued in that statement of the UP Law faculty. So, yan ang paningin ko dyan. Yes.
Ma'am, inabangan
Pero
siyempre
anong nangyari kung yung mga nire-raise yung issue are very basic? I
Yes.
presume yung mga justices ng Supreme Court, lalo na yung ponente, who is a bar top notcher, ay mga learned, unlike namin ni Ed Lingao.
Sinama pa ako.
So, saan lang galing yung kanilang mga hugot? No? Yun yung kwan ko eh. May political aspect ba rito? Dahil yung jurisprudence, very clear eh. Yung mga basic na nire-raise nyo na dapat prospective rather than retroactive, very basic yan. Kahit siya isang abogado de Campanilla. So yung mga rules at saka yung constitution, very basic din. So ano nangyari? No, bakit ganyan yung kanilang desisyon? No, I presume again na hindi naman sila katulad namin ni Ed Lingao. No, na namumulot lamang ng mga legal na mga pananaw diyan sa kanto, no? Yun ang hindi ko maintindihan, Pong.
Ganon din po ako. Nahihirapan din ako how to really justify that. how to give them the benefit of doubt. And that's why we cannot blame certain sectors, certain groups. Ang sinasabi nila parang naging self-serving kasi para bang
Yeah.
sinadya yung magiging mas stricto para mahirapan na talaga yung pagfa-file. And remember, they are themselves impeachable officials. And siguro naman they know, and the very rational ng mga drafters of the Constitution kung bakit binigay sa Congress yung power to initiate and to try impeachment cases ay dahil nga members of Congress are not among the impeachable officials.
Yes.
As an impeachable officials lang are from the judiciary, include the Supreme Court, and then the executive, president, vice president, and constitutional commissions. So dun sa constitutional scheme of things, sa structure ng gobyerno natin under the Constitution, yung legislature talaga ang pinakapwede na mag-handle ng mechanisms of accountability as to those high officials kasi nga hindi naman impeachable officials ang mga miyembro ng Kongreso. And I'm sure the Supreme Court knows it. Kasi alam mo na, I think hindi rin maiiwasan na some of them maybe are thinking about the previous cases of impeachment. The Corona, and then the Gutierrez, the attempted impeachment, then kay former CJ Davide, and even Justice Marvic Leonen himself may attempt then noon to also file impeachment complaints. So they're trying to be sure now about but that is very, very questionable. That is actually wrong, constitutionally defective na sila ang mag-i-impose ng mga ganyang mga requirements when the Constitution itself does not so impose. Because nga the whole rationale is mas madali na magpanagot dun sa mga matataas na opisyal na yan. And what are they, afraid of? Na yung impeachment process naman, it does not result really in imprisonment or whatever administrative or any other criminal sanctions, because the whole aim of impeachment is tanggalin na kaagad yung hindi karapat-dapat na hindi na dadaan sa mga masalimuot at matagal na judicial process, whether it's a criminal process or an administrative process, because in the first place, impeachment proceedings are not criminal, administrative, or even civil. Kaya nga tinatawag na sui generis, ibang-iba to. Kaya hindi dapat pinapa-apply ng strictly yung mga evidentiary rules and even yung about due process, etc.
Pero kayong Congresswoman, you can be permanently barred from public office, and kung Supreme Court Justice ka, mawawala lahat yung napakalalaking benepisyo nila, pension, retirement benefits, and even if it's, they might say it's a malicious speculation, pa-follow up ko ng question ni Ronald, na medyo self-serving tong ginawa nila Dahil nga they are impeachable officials, and dahil nga dito, yun ang suspetsa, kaya unanimous. Are you planning, kung sakasakali lang, is the House planning to raise this issue na bakit naman ganyan na, di ba medyo self-serving yung ganyang ginawa ninyo na it's a judicial overreach? I mean, are you planning to raise that point? It's a valid point, even if they say na medyo parang malisyoso naman yung nyo na kami ang pinagsususpetsahan nyo na self-serving, di ba? But are you planning to raise that point?
Or baka conflict of interest po ba? Conflict of interest is the more appropriate phrase, if that is correct. Your thoughts po?
Kasi marami nang nagsasabi nun ngayon na it's less a defense of Sara Duterte, but a defense of themselves from future impeachment. Yan ang sinasabi ng mga tao ngayon actually.
Yes, hindi maiiwasan talaga kasi yan. Now, as of the moment, I'm not yet privy doon sa nagiging preparation ng Office of the Solicitor General, doon sa pag-prepare at pag-file ng motion for reconsideration. But I'm expecting na at least ay bigyan kami ng kopya any interested member or sinong mga magre-request ng mga members of the House na makakita nung draft man lang para baka naman meron kaming pwedeng mag-contribute na inputs. Kasi ang daming mga substantive, napakaseryosong mga issues na raised now, and therefore it's very important na ma-present at ma-articulate ng Office of the Solicitor General these grounds and arguments, starting with the strongest argument all the way down to kahit hindi masyadong strong, but at least it would help in the deliberation. And right now, actually, even if yung iba, if not marami, ay parang sinasabi na ngayon na wala nang pag-asa yan. Dahil nga, it's unanimous.
Unanimous.
But I would say that pwede pa rin. I think they can still do a rethinking and re-examination of these points when the proper motion for reconsideration is filed. And hoping also that they admit their own mistakes in appreciating certain crucial facts dyan sa usapin. What's wrong with that? That if they admit, kasi no one is infallible. Nagkakamali rin naman. Even institutions can really commit errors other than individual members of the institution. So I'm really hoping, anyway, hope springs eternal. Hindi ako nawawala ng pag-asa na magkaroon ng talagang pagbabago, at least man lang the majority. O kaya if the majority still opts to stand by their original decision and would opt to deny the motion for reconsideration and insist on its core ruling na naging unconstitutional yung pag-initiate and therefore wala na daw jurisdiction ang Senate over the trial, ay at least man lang may ilan sa kanila na mag-dissent.
Ma'am, himay ko lang po yun,
Nakakagulat talaga yun
Yes,
na unanimous
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, himay ko lang po yung kasi iba po yung possible doon sa probable. Everything is possible but not everything is probable. Ngayon nga, given po the fact na you're looking at unanimous, or at least nearly unanimous kasi 13 lang, dalawa naman hindi bumoto. Given the fact na hindi siya a close fight or a narrow margin sa botohan, but basically 13 of those who voted are unanimous about it,
wala man lang dissenting.
Walang dissenting. Ano po yung probability na I mean, realistically, ano po yung probability?
Dagdag kong sa tanong ni Ed, kung sakaling
Introduce our who is here in the flesh na pala.
Ito, ano pangalan ulit? Mr. Ronald
Heckler.
Ronald Heckler.
Kung, paano kung hindi nila pansinin yan? Paano kung hindi lang nila hindi pansinin, insultuhin pa nila, katulad ng kanilang unang order sa Congress, no? Anong magiging recourse ng Kongreso? Yan ba ay pag-uusapan nyo sa Kongreso yung possible impeachment ng mga justices? Yan ba ay pupunta sa kalsada na People's Tribunal labang kay Vice President Sara? So ano yung mga recourses? Ngayon kasi as we speak, may nagrarally sa Supreme Court
If there's even any recourse.
Any of those can be resorted to. Ayaw ko pa sana na magbanggit ngayon that we can initiate or any interested party can initiate impeachment process against the justices themselves. Ayaw ko pa sana. Pero that probability ay nandyan. Kasi kung, as you said, paano kung totally i-disregard yung motion for reconsideration? Dahil nga sinabi nila dun sa desisyon na immediately executory. But it doesn't mean ay final na. It doesn't mean wala nang pwedeng kumestyon. Kasi the very right to file MR is actually part of due process naman ng any party of any case, including the respondents here. So kung gano'n ang gagawin nila at magmatigas at maging strong sila, halimbawa they issue something, even a short resolution which would be tantamount to really yung parang lalong gigisgisin yung pag-insulto sa House as an institution, we cannot blame anyone or any group, or for that matter the House itself, if it would also consider the filing of impeachment case against the Supreme Court justices themselves. Pero parang na rin yan, ang hirap nun sana hindi yan mangyari. Now we will be you will be pushed to the corner na yan na lang ang tangi nating magiging solusyon. Kasi para na rin yan constitutional crisis eh. I mean, that is actually a constitutional crisis because one co-equal body is going against another one head-on. Papa-impeach buo. So wala tayong magiging Supreme Court in the meantime. And so what happens to the administration, the workings of the administration of justice? So as much as possible, the ball actually is with the Senate, with the Supreme Court now, as well as the Senate. So Supreme Court, dahil nga, they should take seriously a motion for reconsideration. And the arguments being put forward now by many groups, they should seriously consider that and consider and make a re-examination of what they did. And then yung sa Senate naman, sana they should avoid yung mga pronouncements or steps which would lend legitimacy to a still not final Supreme Court decision. Kasi if they start saying now, wala, susunod na lang kami sa Supreme Court, and therefore we are also dismissing this impeachment complaint at our level. So ginagatungan nila. They're just adding or lending legitimacy to what the Supreme Court did already, which is basically an assault against the Constitution dahil nga ginulo yung pinakaproseso or mechanism of accountability na malinaw naman na nakalagay sa Konstitusyon.
May tanong kayo.
Congresswoman, sorry, we're running quickly out of time, but I just had to pivot quickly and ask you about the politics, because before we had you on, we were talking about who the minority is in the House and in the Senate, and how the lines have been redrawn. So in the House, the Liberal Party members are with the minority.
Yes.
And in the Senate, though, we have confirmation now that Senators Bam and Kiko are with the majority. So may split, right? We've got a split right there. How should we be reading this? Well, where is the Liberal Party now?
Well, how I wish that people would be less judgmental, on the decision of both Kiko and Bam to join the majority. They have actually explained themselves. And ang importante ay makikita natin kung ano yung mga magiging posisyon nila sa mga mahalagang usapin. And including this, the impeachment. Per the news reports, they are part of a few na pumirma na sa isang resolution expressing the sense of the Senate that impeachment must continue. Yung para bang, advising the Supreme Court that as far as we are concerned, we want to continue. So that is a sort of a plea or an appeal to the Supreme Court to reconsider its decision. Another manifestation kung bakit si Kiko at si Bam, Senators Kiko and Bam, they continue to stick to their principles is that dun sa pag-file po ng resolution about open and transparent BICAM proceedings, they're also part of the minority that file that joint resolution, yung sa Senate version, sila yon, including si Senator Risa, Senator Ping Lacson,
Yeah.
and Senator Tito Soto. Kami rin sa House, yung block namin. So that's already a manifestation what they're saying. Now that they can be expected or be trusted to decide on the side of truth and accountability.
Pero di ba Kong, medyo dysfunctional na binoto nila yung tao na the main person instrumental sa pag-delay ng impeachment. The one who tawag nila Mr. Forthwith, Mr. Remand, at yung naggawa ng predicate na pwedeng i-dismiss ng Senado yung impeachment kahit wala sa Constitution. Di ba medyo defining yon? Na bakit mo binoto yan? At ganito yung position mo, pero bakit binoto mo yung tao na main reason kung bakit na-delay itong impeachment at nagkaroon ng pagkakataon ng Supreme Court para pumasok.
I do not wish to second guess kung ano ang magiging explanation din dyan nila Senator Kiko and Bam. But that's it. Hindi lang naman dun sa issue na yan na may ganyan na disconnect sa kanilang paniniwala. Kasi insofar as Senator Bam and Kiko are concerned, they are after accountability and they're after the continuation of the impeachment proceedings or the impeachment trial. So even if bumoto sila kay SP Cheese, is hindi naman mawawala yung pinakaposisyon na yon. Now they got what they wanted, the chairmanship. You know, they're really after those. They're very serious about those committee chairmanship because of their electoral promises as to education and as to agriculture. Education kay Senbam, agriculture kay Sen Kiko. So yun ang that's the driving force and the driving motivation sa kanila. That by being the chairpersons of these two key committees, they would be able to deliver on their respective campaign promises. So I think it would be unfair na mag-generalize yung pagtingin sa kanila ng tao na hindi sila nagiging consistent sa kanilang prinsipyo.
So they will stay true to their principles. This is just looks like just a case of strategic pragmatism.
Pero ma'am, at the same time, I mean, you do have to acknowledge that this has caused a lot of confusion and dissonance among those who
Yes.
are supportive or have been supportive of the
Yes.
traditional position. Isn't there any reason for you guys to be concerned na this will have medium to long-term effect on the stability and the integrity of the group?
Well, that is, of course, a concern. But that is something that would not really be that long-term, I should say, because it really, again, depends on the performance of both senators in their respective chairmanships. You see, if they truly deliver, then the people, those who are who disagreed with their action, would, I think, have a change of mind. See, so I refuse to say now that this can have a long-term effect, particularly on the part of the opposition.
Yeah, fair point. Okay, we will have to leave that there. I'm so sorry, Congresswoman. We've run out of time, but we'll have you back another time to flesh this out more. Thank you so much for making time for us today, Congresswoman Laila De Lima.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, ma'am.
Kong.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Congresswoman.
Yes, have a good day. Thank you.
You are watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
We've got developing news and the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Regina Lay, still with us. Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star and Ronald Llamas, our resident political heckler.
Ay, pagkakataon mo ngayon.
Kamusta, Ami? Okay ka na?
Bati mo si Ami.
Okay ka na,
Hindi ko
Ami?
masyado magapa ng konti.
Ha?
Allergy.
Okay.
May allergy pa.
Kaninong politiko ka na allergy?
Sa'yo yata.
Ay, napakarami nun ha. Ang dami nun.
Ikaw kasi, sino-sino kausap mo kaya na-allergy ka eh.
Marami.
Ano, batiin mo naman yung suot ni Ami. Hindi ako nakahirit kanina eh.
Hindi yan, subdued, di ba? Hindi katulad
Subdued yan
Hindi
eh.
katulad ng ating politika na umaapoy, sumasabog all over the place.
Oh my
yan,
gosh.
Makakalma ka pag tinitingnan mo yung damit
Hindi
niya.
naman tagulan ngayon. Di kailangan makulay.
What is going on with the politics, ha?
Di ba?
Nag-away-away na. I mean,
Pati si Kaufman, tsaka si Harry Roque.
Oo nga eh.
nag-break. That's like
Yung hindi mo inaasahan.
the funniest comment that I've read about that. Said,
That's a really
it's
nasty,
like
yung
yung theme song dapat nun is a bizarre love triangle. Kasi si Digong yung nasa gitna, and then you've got Harry on one side, Kaufman on the other.
Eh, pero namili naman si Digong kung sino yung kanyang
Siyempre.
club team eh.
Siyempre.
So
Pinili
that,
na ni
Kaufman
Digong
wins
si-
now.
Oo,
For
Kaufman
now.
wins now. Oo.
For now.
Laki ng
Pero
bayan doon.
remember, si Sara Duterte,
Laki ng
vice
bayan
the
doon.
Siya rin mo,
VP.
libre mo na taas ka.
Diba?
Sorry,
Si
Ami?
Sara Duterte mismo, siya mismo noon sinasabi na niya na now we're not going to tap Harry Roque. Si VP Sara sinabi na niya yan eh.
Yes, but every
Sinabi
time
niya
she
dati,
goes-
he has his
Yeah.
own problem, sabi niya.
Yes.
Asikasuhin na muna niya yung problema niya. That was Sara Duterte speaking several months ago.
But you
so
know-
medyo nakakagulat na hanggang ngayon,
Yeah.
ganun pa rin issue.
But every time she goes there, kasama, I mean, nagkikita sila ni Harry
sumasalubong.
Roque, right?
Nagkikita sila.
Oo, I mean,
Nagkikita
he
sila.
turns up to the to the interviews outside the
Baka wala naman choice, sige, Sara.
Kevin prison.
Isa ko lang sasabihin to. In fairness kay Vice President Sara, kasalanan ba niya yun? Kasalanan ba niya yun? Nasa ex-human rights lawyer, lagi nandun, sumasalubong.
Who's to say hindi siya invited? How do you know he wasn't invited, right?
Saan?
To the outside the prison. Malay mo.
Naramdaman ko lang.
Naramdaman mo.
Na-
Malay mo,
Na
na-invite
hindi siya
mo
wanted. Sabi nga ni Sal Panelo, umuwi ka na, man up.
Kasi nga kung,
No? Sabi ni Panelo.
yan
Hindi lang
pa.
yan.
oo.
Kaufman quoting the former president, he should go home and and address
Face his legal problems, di ba?
Go home and face his problems eh. Hindi man
Kaya
lang
nga.
face his problems from here.
Di, baka nung naghulog siya ng coin sa Imbornal, baka yun ang sinagot.
Ha?
Ano naman yun?
Yun, naghulog siya ng...
Hindi ko alam yan.
Naghulog siya ng coin sa
Oo,
Imbornal,
oo,
di ba?
oo.
Yung gano'n.
Hindi yung Bornal.
Imbornal, yung karat.
Drain.
Naghulog siya, di mo nakita yun?
No.
O, naghulog siya, tapos sumagot yung Imbornal.
Ano sabi? Ano sabi?
Sabi, uwi ka na.
So it's not bring PRRD home pala. It's,
Bring Harry home.
Bring Harry home. Ano ba yan? But yes, this
Kasi
is
kung kukunin siya ni VP, matagal na sinabi yun ni VP, di ba? Kung kukunin siya as lawyer.
Mahirap siya kasing
Sinabi
kunin.
na agad dyan.
Ami, dahil meron siyang video nung 2016 campaign na binabanatan niya si Digong na mamamatay tao na wag iboto. No? Eh kung ilabas sa ng prosecution, habang siya yung lawyer ni Digong, ilabas yung video na yun. Tatamaan hindi lang siya, tatamaan yung kanyang kliyente. So yun yung main reason ba't hindi siya kinuha.
I think that was a UP forum eh.
UP Forum.
Sinabi niya yun eh.
Oo, talagang vehement siya. Huwag niyo iboto yan, mamamatay tao yan, etc. etc.
if you go on YouTube, you can still find that footage.
Yes,
It's from a few years ago.
Kaya ako, ingat ako sa mga sinasabi ko, baka kainin ko later.
Nag-ingat ko sa lagi na yan.
Ingat ka na sa lagay na
Lalo
yan.
na kung public statement, kung public statement, mahirap talaga eh.
Permanent na yun, permanent. Hindi mo na pwedeng bawiin yun.
So we don't know what's happening with the case right now. Ang alam natin is may estimate for the ICC chamber to decide on the interim release, maybe end of August, early September is the
Yes.
estimate at this point.
Originally kasi sila yung nag-file sa Kaufman na
correct.
madaliin
Correct.
yung
Yeah.
decision sa interim release. Eventually, sinabi nila, wag na muna. Sila rin yung nagpa-delay. Pero sila rin yung nagmamadali
Correct.
before.
I don't, yeah. I mean, I don't know how to read that. Ano, parang, ano yun, is it the delaying tactic or they...
Seriously, naghahanap sila ng mga arguments at dahilan para manalo
To
sa...
strengthen their case.
Dahil alam nila, delikado sila. No? Walang ganong klaseng tradition yung ICC na magbigay ng interim release ng basta-basta.
Correct. Well, sabi nga ni Attorney Gilbert Cruz, they haven't satisfied the 3 conditions, right? And Attorney Joel Butuyan din pala. They haven't satisfied the 3 conditions that the ICC is asking for. Wala din tayong update so far with the case of Harry Roque. We know that last we spoke to DOJ, they were going to revoke they're asking DFA to revoke his visa, and also they're working with Interpol. Right?
Pero isa yun sa pinagawayan nila ni Kaufman na si Harry Roque gustong kasuhan yung Dutch government. No?
Totoo ba yun?
Totoo yun. Dahil yun yung logic ng kanyang gustong i-file na case. Na questionin mo yung Dutch government for kidnapping o rendition.
For illegal rendition.
Siyempre, si Kaufman ayaw naman niyang ma-antagonize lahat. Na-antagonize mo na nga yung judges Na-antagonize mo pa yung government kung saan nandun yung korte. Parang kung ikaw ay abogado, gusto mo nang bawasan ng kaaway.
So we also don't know what's happening with that case.
Wala pa.
That's
Baka this weekend, alam mo naman, marami nangyayari pag weekend dito sa atin
especially now, August na, no? I just realized August na.
Yes.
And now we have, can we say it? An impeachment that's dead in the water, right? In August na I mean, that was filed in February, right? March, April, May, June, July, August. 5
Kaya nga
months.
mas less optimistic ako na i-reverse ng Supreme Court yung kanyang sarili. Na
You're
unanimous.
not optimistic. Yes. Of course, 13 Unanimous decision
Saka ang itsura mo nun.
Kaya nga supportive yun sa sinabi mo, dead on the water.
So, can we call it? I mean, doesn't feel like there's any moment. I mean, actually today was the day the MR was supposed to be filed, no? Yung motion for reconsideration.
Yes.
Meron finailang civil society
Kaya nandun
groups.
sila ngayon.
Pero not the House. Not the
May
House.
final.
Oh,
Not the House.
Not the House.
But it has to be initiated An MR has to be asked. Kaya,
Filed.
ayan, meron na nag-file ngayon.
Mukhang sa
Civil
Monday yata ang
society.
House. Mukhang sa Monday sila.
Kaya titingnan natin ng argument kasi alam mo naman dito sa Pilipinas hindi natin alam something can change in the Supreme Court. Tingnan natin.
Tatanong ko sana
Sabi
yun
nga
sa
ni
isa nating
President
guest.
Marcos,
Ano no, sa
never say
majority siya?
never.
Kung kailan ba sila magpa-file ng MR?
Yeah. Baka that's why we couldn't get him today. Because,
But
okay.
realistically, the MR has to be compelling, convincing, but not necessarily antagonizing. Kasi
Still respectful.
kasi you have 13 justices who voted
Exactly.
for one position.
Mukhang nga focus lang naman nila factual Ito yung oras na sinubmit namin sa Supreme Court.
Pero Bok,
Ito
Ayan
yung
lang.
oras na nag-end yung session.
ayan.
Mga ganong mga factual
pero
yung
Bok, how does it look if you tell the Supreme Court, you guys didn't get your facts right?
Sabi na nila, oops. Sabi nila, oops.
Isn't it easier to just say na we misappreciated the facts kasi we got the facts wrong?
Hindi, kaya nga mga abogado,
Yan.
laging simula nila, di ba? Respectfully.
Respectfully.
Di ba? Laging ganun
Respectfully.
Respectfully, di ba?
Misappreciation.
Respectfully.
Yung mga heckler na lang ang magsasabi. Kaya nilang ginawa yun to serve yourself.
Dadalo kami sa'yo pag nakulong ka na, ha?
Respectfully, I have to close the show because we're
Respectfully,
over time.
mauuna si Hidarian kaya sa akin.
Respectfully, stop talking because we are over time. Thank you so much for joining Storycon
Friday.
today. May Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit. Join us again Monday, 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Happy week.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.